Hi, this is Richard Campbell from Run As Radio, .NET Rocks, and Windows Weekly, here to talk a bit about DEVintersection 2025, which is taking place from October 5th to 10th at the Lowe's Sapphire Falls Resort in Orlando. And I'm here with my friend Scott Hanselman, who almost has as long a podcast list as I do. Of course, Hanselman, it's for forever. This Developer's Life, I remember and love. And now you've got the new one with Rasinovich called, Scott and Mark Learn something?
Yeah, Scott and Mark Learn too. And it's actually, that's the domain, scottandmarklearn.to. And each week we learn something new.
That's really a good idea and a fun way to explore. You and I have been teachers for forever. And you've been a part of DEVintersection since we came up with the name in 2011, 2012.
Yeah.
But the intersection was different then.
Yeah. Right now we're lying at this intersection of classical software and AI. And Scott Hunter and I are going to do a talk and have a conversation about what is it that software development looks like next year.
Yeah, which I think is on everyone's mind. It's been since the ChatGPT thing, since 2022. And I mean, GitHub Copilot was even before that. But now this past year, we're really seeing incredible results. And it makes you really think about what your work as a developer looks like.
Yeah, and I think that there's a lot of analogies that people are using, like what if a million monkeys had a million typewriters, would they eventually write C#? We are in that place where you throw enough GPU power at something, you will get spicy autocomplete. The question is, can you give spicy autocomplete enough context that it will help you do your job, or will it just make your job more annoying? Is an AI copilot an eager intern? Or is it an actual helpful copilot or a rubber duck? I've got a rubber duck that sits on my
Not that a rubber duck's a bad thing, but I think we're seeing folks get better results than that.
Yeah, and it's getting better and better. The question is, what does our job look like? I am confident in my ability to do interesting work, regardless of whether the tedium gets done for me. My question is going to be, what does it mean for the early in career people? Because how do you get 30 years of experience if you're only just coding via vibes? I used the analogy about driving stick shift. What is your relationship with the vehicle if you Uber around and one day the car breaks down?
Yeah, and I've been talking to a few young developers, and it's almost like they have to unlearn and go back to what they originally got in development for, which was to provide solutions to people.
Yeah.
That the coding wasn't the goal. And these tools just give you a new approach to get to solutions.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. The idea, though, is that the coding never was the point.
Right.
Right. It is always about providing business value or providing human value or like doing something to help people. So if I make some piece of code that helps me or helps my business move forward in a way, does it matter that I didn't write it all myself? In fact, I think I told you that for the podcast, the Hansel Minutes podcast, which is coming up on episode 1010, I never really had a good administrative back end. I was always manually editing JSON files.
Right.
And I've literally been doing that for a decade because it's 15 minutes a week and it's just annoying enough that does it really need an administrative back end? And then I sat down and I vibe coded an administrative back end, and I did it in 42 minutes. In fact, it took longer to set up GitHub Actions in Azure to get it into the cloud than it did to actually write the thing.
Wow.
Once I got that set up, though, now I just push into master, and it goes up just fine and works great. So I now have an administrative back end for the podcast that does all that tedium. It crops headshots, updates advertisers, and all that kind of stuff. I never would have gotten around to it because I would never want to give it the 10 to 15 hours of effort that it required.
Yeah, that used to require anyway. It just speaks to, there's a lot of projects we just haven't got to. Like none of us was ever getting to the bottom of our to-do list. And now some of that low-hanging fruit is much easier to pick.
Well, recently I was at a C++ conference in Toronto, and I met the creator of Carbon, a distinguished engineer out of Google. Carbon is the next version of C++, or has been purported to be. And I thought it would be cool to, because I'm interested in Commodore 64, is to make a Carbon, which is the latest thing.
Right.
It doesn't even exist kind of thing. A Carbon to 6502 compiler. That would have been probably hours of tedium and, probably a solid weekend of cobbling things together. And I was able to do it with my knowledge plus an AI agent in about 2.5 hours. It was pretty powerful, and it created something unique, but I don't think I could have done it had I not been familiar with the underlying tech and how Commodore 64s work.
It just seems like there's so much potential here. We just got to get our feet under us. So I'm hoping we can get all that together for the show. And of course, you've got the keynote to kick us off with this. Here's what you can look for in the next year.
Yeah, well, I definitely want people to understand that I am a bit of an AI vegan. There are things that I don't do. I don't generate images. I don't generate videos. I recognize that there's a slider bar of problematic when you're thinking about what AI can do and what it can't do and where it came from. But I am finding value in Spicy Autocomplete, and it has made my life more enjoyable without me necessarily. It does the things that are dull, dirty, and dangerous, right? It does the toil.
Which we've always had as developers, as tools around us to do the unpleasant things. Nobody should write another cryptography library. Nobody should write a garbage collector. Like, those problems have been solved. And now there's more things that can be solved.
90% of the Commodore 64 app was make files, So like, if your problem is regular expressions and someone else can write it for you, then yeah, that'd be a problem I don't want to have.
Absolutely. Scott, I'm excited for what we're doing here in the fall. I'm excited what's coming right now. It feels like a sea change, and these don't happen that often.
They don't. It is interesting that some people are starting their careers and some people are ending their careers at the moment of this sea change. So hopefully we'll provide some context to make people feel more comfortable.
Yeah, appreciate that. So that's the DEVintersection 2025 conference coming to you in Orlando at the Lowe's Sapphire Falls Resort, October 5th to 10th. Go to devintersection.com to register.